My wife slept with her boss and pushed for an open marriage, but changed her mind the moment I found someone better. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to spill my heart out to strangers online, but here I am. I guess I've reached that point. My wife and I have been together for 10 years, married for 8. We met back in college, and we were each other's first everything. I honestly believe that made our relationship something rare and beautiful. Turns out, I was probably the only one who felt that way. A while back, my wife started a new job. In the beginning, she struggled to find her place. She's always been on the quieter side. I encouraged her to be more social, to try and make friends, and eventually she did. She found a group of women to hang out with, some single, some divorced, a few casually dating, but none of them were married. At first, I was genuinely happy for her. I thought it would be good for her to have a social circle. But soon, she was regularly going out for drinks, hitting up parties, or doing whatever else her friends had planned. I started to get uneasy with how her behavior was changing. I wanted to talk to her about it, but I also didn't want to come off like I was trying to control her. It didn't take long before our intimacy started taking a hit. She's never really been the one to initiate, but now she was either too tired or just not in the mood pretty much all the time. Eventually, her company brought in a new manager. She and her friends really seemed to like the guy. She started bringing him up in random conversations, even praising how he handled situations that didn't exactly sound like work problems. When I asked her why she seemed so fixated on this man, she brushed me off like it was no big deal. Then she began asking me weird questions, like if I ever regretted not having more experience with other women. I told her no, that she was everything I ever needed. I could have sworn I saw a flicker of sadness in her eyes, but she quickly changed the subject. Not long after that, she brought up the idea of an open marriage. Said it might help spice things up. I was stunned. This wasn't like her at all. She'd never been that liberal or experimental when it came to stuff like this. I asked her straight up if this was because of the new manager. She denied it, but admitted she felt like she'd missed out on something in life. She said she didn't want to lose me, so this was her way of keeping us together while still exploring. I told her she was playing with fire, but in the end, I caved. I reluctantly agreed. We came up with some ground rules, the biggest one being that we wouldn't bring anyone into our home. So for the next year, she dated other men. She had one-night stands. And eventually, like I didn't see it coming, she started something with that manager. Meanwhile, I went on a few dates myself, but I couldn't bring myself to hook up with anyone. It just didn't feel right. She kept checking in with me, asking if I was okay, but her behavior never changed. Over time, something in me started to fade. That special bond one believed we had, the kind of innocent love I thought marriage was supposed to be, it felt like it was dying. Then I met someone. A woman originally from South Korea. We went on a date, and the conversation flowed so easily, I felt like I'd known her for years. She had this wit that hit like a lightning bolt, and a smile that could disarm anyone. Our dates turned into something more, and eventually, we became intimate. And let me tell you, I'd never experienced anything like that before. I had no idea someone could make me feel that desired, that seen. At first, my wife thought it was cute. But as the months passed, she started questioning the relationship. I reminded her this was all her idea. And besides, wasn't she still involved with her manager? She went quiet. Looked like she had something to say, but held it in. Then, out of nowhere, she started trying to win me back. She'd come home early to make dinner, deep clean the house, drop off lunch at my job, and even started initiating intimacy again. Honestly, if none of this had happened, those efforts would have made me feel amazing. But I could barely respond to her advances. And when I did, it was just to get it over with. Whatever love I had for her, it felt like a part of it had died. And I think she sensed that too. One night, I asked what sparked this sudden change. She told me she wanted to prove that she still loved me, that she was happy with me. I didn't mean to, but I just laughed. I brought up her little girl group, her manager, and her string of hookups. She didn't say a word, just quietly went to bed, crying. The next day, I came home to find her waiting. She told me she wanted to end the open marriage. Said it was a massive mistake. That she regretted everything and wanted us to go back to being focused on each other. I asked her to be straight with me, what pushed her to do all of this in the first place. Turns out, it started with her friends. They'd gone on and on about their wild self-discovery stories. Then her manager came along and supported the lifestyle, told her to live free. She admitted the whole thing turned into an emotional affair and eventually got physical once the marriage was open, of course. Like that makes it any easier to swallow. She described it like being drunk behind the wheel of a speeding car, exhilarating at first, but eventually terrifying and out of control. Now she feels like she wrecked something precious, something she'll never get back. I told her, honestly, I don't know if I can ever see her the same way again. And that made her collapse in tears. I held her while she sobbed, and eventually, she fell asleep on the couch in my arms. Since then, she's quit her job, cut off contact with her friends and that manager, and told me she'd do anything, work herself to the bone, if that's what it takes to be seen as my wife again. But here's the thing, I haven't cut ties with the woman I met. That woman makes me feel alive. She sees me in a way my wife hasn't in years. And the truth is, I'm stuck. I want that special connection back with my wife, if it's even possible. But my lover? She saved me when I was falling apart. Oh, and one last thing. We've got our first marriage counseling session in just a couple hours. No idea how it's gonna go. The message from my lover that morning read, "I miss starting my day with your kiss." And honestly, I think that shook my wife to the core. Ever since then, she hasn't left my side. For the last couple of hours, she's been hovering around me, even tagging along while I went jogging. And that's wild, she's never jogged with me, not once, throughout our entire relationship. I actually met my lover one evening while my wife was out on one of her dates. I had just left the bookstore, my usual escape during this entire mess, when I saw a short, stocky man following a woman and yelling at her. Things escalated quickly when he grabbed her arm and jerked her around. Without thinking, I jumped in. I've done a bit of judo, not anything advanced, but it was enough to get him under control. In the process, I ended up dislocating his wrist. Turned out he was a former co-worker of hers who had been fired for sexual harassment. He hadn't taken it well. After that, she insisted on buying me a coffee as a thank you. I agreed, and we talked. That was the beginning. When I told her about my open marriage, her first reaction was hesitation. She made it clear she didn't want to be a homewrecker. But after I explained everything my wife had been doing, her affair, the emotional distance, my lover sort of dropped her guard. It's like she figured, if the door was already broken open, she might as well walk through. You know, sometimes I think about what story I'll tell my future grandkids. Will it be the romantic one where I saved their grandmother from a creep when she fell into my arms? Or the sad, modern tale where their grandma took a year to find herself, and I just smiled and went along with it? Update 1. Our first counseling session went better than expected. The therapist seemed professional, neutral, and genuinely eager to help. It was only our first meeting, but my wife dove right in. She admitted that her friend group had planted the idea in her head that she had somehow missed out on all these experiences because she had only ever been with me. These women, most of them divorced but none married, made her question everything. The therapist pointed out that this mindset is often damaging to a marriage when one partner starts comparing their life to someone who isn't even committed to a long-term relationship. My wife agreed. She added that once her new manager started showing her attention, her friends pushed her to see where it might go. They told her this was her chance to explore and discover herself. She said she felt guilty about the emotional connection, but nothing physical happened, at least not until one of her divorced friends introduced the idea of an open marriage. That friend framed it as a safe loophole, something that could supposedly make our relationship stronger. My wife said she regretted convincing me to agree, but once it started, she got caught up in the excitement. She described it like an addiction, fun in the moment but ultimately empty. Not like what we had built. She told the therapist that she knew I was hurting but kept telling herself it was all part of this adventure. And now she says she'll never forgive herself for putting that thrill ahead of us. Apparently, things really hit her when she noticed I had changed. At first, she assumed I'd eventually be fine with the whole situation, especially since I was going on dates too. But that shifted once my lover became a consistent part of my life. She noticed I was smiling more. That my eyes lit up when I got a message. That I left the room with a spring in my step to take calls. She said she started getting random panic attacks. Went back to her friends for advice, but they brushed it off, said it was just a phase I'd work through. But then the same divorced friend who started this whole mess told her, looks like his lover actually makes him happy. And that's when the full weight of her decisions hit her. She said that realization nearly made her collapse. The idea that another woman, not his wife, brought her husband joy? That broke her. She begged her friends to help her fix things. They just shrugged and said, "You opened the marriage. What did you expect?" That was the wake-up call. That's when she realized these people were toxic and were never looking out for her or our relationship. So she's been trying to undo the damage ever since, whatever it takes. As for me, I didn't share much during that first session. But I did tell the therapist that I'm still seeing my lover. She made it clear that we couldn't make real progress while a third person remained involved. She recommended we schedule a follow-up session soon and made a comment that stuck with me, said it's rare these days for couples to stay together since they're first, but it's not impossible. I got the sense she wants us to be one of those rare success stories. When a woman makes a man feel truly seen like a man, it's no surprise she becomes someone others chase after. That kind of connection is rare, and if I let it go, I know I'd be right back here again. Update 2. First off, thank you to everyone who's reached out, whether through messages or comments. I'm sorry I haven't been able to respond to each of you individually, but I want you to know I've read everything. The support has meant more to me than I can put into words. Honestly, this whole situation has felt like something ripped straight out of Jerry Springer. Since the last update, I've moved into one of my brother's apartments. He owns several properties and offered to let me stay rent-free, but I didn't feel right taking that, so I'm paying a very low rent. Still, it's something. I needed the space. Now, let me tell you what came up during our second counseling session. I decided to ask some tough questions, many of which were suggested by folks online. The first one I asked was she absolutely sure nothing physical happened with her manager before we opened the marriage? She dropped her gaze and begged me not to make her say it. But I pressed. Finally, through tears, she admitted it wasn't intercourse, but they did touch themselves in front of each other. He convinced her it didn't count as cheating because there was no direct contact. Just two people appreciating each other's beauty, as he put it. I was stunned, numb. She started sobbing uncontrollably, even shaking. Her nose was running, her words barely coherent. Even the therapist looked shocked. My wife collapsed to her knees, wrapping herself around my legs, saying how sorry she was over and over again. Next, I asked her what made her start pulling away from the manager. She said once she started distancing herself from the friend group, his behavior changed. Then one night, as she passed his office, she overheard him talking about her to another man. He laughed, saying how easy it was to get her. Called her proof you can't trust the quiet ones. When the guy asked if he actually liked her, the manager said she was just a pleasant distraction, that he had no plans of leaving his fiancée. That all of this was just to get it out of his system. He even said he felt a little bad for me, but, you snooze, you lose. She said hearing that hit her like a ton of bricks. She realized she wasn't special to him, just something convenient. She left the building and threw up in the parking lot. Her first thought? What have I done? Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. Then I asked the hardest question of all, did you ever love him? And when did you stop loving me? She stared into my eyes and, through tears, said she never stopped loving me. That what she felt for him wasn't love, it was just something different, something she mistook for excitement. She clutched my arm and said she misses us, misses the connection we had, and that she'd do anything to start over. Suggested we move somewhere new and build a fresh life, just the two of us. I told her it wouldn't be fair, not to my lover, not to myself, and that I needed space. Time apart to figure things out. That broke her. She melted down, crying so hard she could barely speak, clung to me like she was afraid I'd vanish. It took both me and the therapist to calm her down. Eventually, the counselor gently explained that maybe some distance would help both of us see things more clearly. But that wasn't the end. When we got home, I started packing. Out of nowhere, my wife got a video call on her laptop. It was one of her former friends, crying. She confessed that after my wife left her job, she started a fling with the same manager. It ended in disaster. She had a pregnancy scare, and when she told him, he lost it, turned cold and cruel. She had a boyfriend at the time, someone she saw a future with, and the affair had only been out of curiosity. But her boyfriend found out, he came across an email thread about the scare, and left her. She called my wife thinking our marriage had survived and was begging for advice. I didn't say a word. I just walked out. And I've been staying at my brother's apartment ever since. Update 3. First, thank you again to everyone who's continued to follow this. Whether you've offered advice, shared your own story, or just let me vent, I appreciate you. So, that friend from the video call? Turns out she really was pregnant. But with the emotional wreckage of losing her boyfriend and being humiliated by the affair, she suffered a miscarriage. After that, she snapped. She went scorched earth on the manager. She exposed everything, to the company's upper management and to his fiancée. I got curious and looked up his fiancée on Facebook. She's a sweet-looking woman, the kind of small-town, family-oriented teacher who works with special needs kids. Just the kind of person you'd expect to be cherished, not cheated on. I couldn't help but wonder, how does a guy like him end up with a woman like her and still blow it? That same friend reached out again, this time to get my side of the story. She was gathering evidence for HR and wanted to meet face to face. We both had recent COVID tests, so I agreed. When I saw her, it was clear she hadn't slept. Her eyes were red, her face worn. She thanked me for showing up and immediately apologized for her role in everything. Said she spoke to my wife again and heard that I'd moved out. She wasn't trying to shift blame, just wanted to take responsibility. She said losing both the child and her relationship changed her completely. She couldn't even look in the mirror anymore without feeling disgusted. Meeting with me might have been a way of punishing herself. She told me that because fraternizing with subordinates was against company policy, especially from someone in a position of power, the manager would likely be fired and even blacklisted from the industry. But she knew the same could happen to her and had accepted that. After she left, I went to the old place to grab some of my stuff. I thought my wife would be out, but she was home. And she had spread all our wedding photos across the coffee table. She was just sitting there, staring at them. When she saw me, she stood up and tried to hug me. I stepped back. She offered to make me lunch. I told her I wasn't staying long. Before I left, she said she had something to show me. It was a new message from her former manager. He'd used a different number to contact her since she'd blocked the old one. He was furious, accusing her of ruining his life. She said she helped her friend blow the whistle on him because she believes secrets only hold power in the dark. She got the idea from Chump Lady and Marriage Builders, hoping this act might give us a shot. I told her I respected her courage. But that didn't change things between us. I also let her know I was done with marriage counseling. I'd continue individual therapy instead. She nodded through soft sobs and said she understood. I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to feel anymore. Relief? Anger? All I feel is numb. That's not normal. Which is why I know I need to deal with this on my own for now. Also, just to protect myself, I've met with a divorce attorney, my brother's recommendation. I'm not ready to say it's over. But I'm not ready to fight for it either. And I think my wife senses that. As I was leaving, she tried to initiate sex. When I turned her down, she broke. She yelled, "What does she give you that I don't? What can she do for you that I can't?" She screamed it so loud I'm pretty sure the whole building heard. Then she said something that stuck with me. "Whatever it is you want, whatever she's giving you, I'll do it. I swear I will." I shook my head and told her, "If you still don't know what it is after all this, then you already have your answer." And I walked out. That's where I am now. Thanks again for listening, for caring, for helping me hold myself together.